Hello, so I'm Brandon Green, and I'll be explaining the OPT model as if I were trying to explain to strength coaches, athletes, or any other health enthusiasts. The way that I would go about it, there's always a great way of being able to explain the OPT model in a scientific approach. As far as it's a six-phase program split up into three phases. The first phase or the first stage is stabilization, more specifically stabilization endurance, uh, and then you have phases two, three, and four that focus on strength training and different aspects of strength, as far as strength endurance, hypertrophy, and max strength training. And then you have the last two phases, five and six, that are broken into power. So you have power training and max power training. Another way that I would kind of define the OPT model is that it's a systematic approach to improving sport performance by initially focus on proper stabilization, muscle activation, form technique, and then just improving overall neuromuscular efficiency. After the after proper stabilization, then you want to roll into strength training, overall muscular strength, by focusing on multi-joint and multi-planar movements. Special consideration in multi-planar and multi-joint, obviously because sport-specific movements, deal with those specifically. So making sure that you're actually having exercises that are relatable to what they'll actually be experiencing during sport. So, and then that ends in power, where you're kind of encompassing everything, really working on the speed and force of that, where you're actually getting the real translation, kind of, as far as the metrics of sports enhancement. The pros of the OPT model is that it's systematic, it has structure, so you know exactly what level you should be at some point. It's progressive, so like I said, you're working on stabilization. Once you have a strong stabilization foundation, then you're moving into strength training. Once that foundation is set, then you're moving into power. It's flexible and it's versatile. So the cool thing about the OPT model is that it's specific enough that you have the structure, but it's also general enough that you can actually make it kind of cater to whatever athlete that you're trying to focus on. The cons of the OPT model, it's kind of hard to kind of for myself to come up with anything, but it could be hard to accomplish alone as far as compliance. So really getting the athlete to buy into what you're doing. And as a healthcare professional, you'd have to be stringent on the athlete to make sure that you are getting them to improve performance, so that they're not coming in doing the same thing over and over. And then focus on a mental aptitude for the athlete for self motivation. And obviously, it's a new training approach, so breaking over new old habits and really diving into that. The last part is obviously how I tied everything in together. I had two studies by Koenig and Perkry in 2015, and Rhea Rulsing and Samuel in 2014, that basically came up with a conclusion that poor static and dynamic balance is associated with injury in adolescent athletes. So making sure that they have that type of structure would also improve. As far as a rebuttal, the way that I feel about it is, obviously it's new, but it has its metrics, and as I've already mentioned, if the end result of the OPT model is to improve overall sport performance while reducing the likelihood of injury, then I see realistically there should be no reason to not adopt this approach. Thank you.